cricket has a mass appeal rarely surpassed by other sport. A test series between India and Pakistan evokes as much interest and excitement as a contest between England and Australia for the Ashes.
Righto, fellas. What do you reckon this quote is about? I'll read it to you. Here you go. It was becoming evident that tests between these two nations had developed a unique sensibility. Those who were normal became slightly mad. Those who were already troubled were temporarily blinded with a kind of insanity.
From Smith to Robbie D.
The Yankees have swept a 4-game series.
Yes, that's an early try to Walkman. Live from the Export Beer Garden Studios, this is Versus, an agenda special podcast brought to you by Bonds Chafe Off Undies. Bonds, innovative range of friction-free undies.
I think I know the quote, Mike Lane.
Do you?
Yeah, I think I'm going to throw this one over to Paul Ford, though, for a bit of suspense.
Paul Ford, who do you think that's making reference to?
Well, hopefully it's something to do with some subcontinental rivalry, but who knows?
It is indeed. It's about India and Pakistan, and it is going to be the second episode of our special series, Versus, a agenda podcast special, where we take a deep dive into the world's biggest sporting rivalries, all thanks to Bonds Chafe Off Undies, friction-free undies. You'd need some of those, I'd say, Paul Ford. But we're gonna go deep. Episode 1, we went deep on 1980s rugby in New Zealand, Auckland, Canterbury, and we had a couple of young producers in the studio who were rocked to the core. Grew up in Canterbury and had no idea why he hated Auckland so much, and all of a sudden it dawned on him why his dad was so bitter and twisted, and why he was so upset when he eventually moved to Auckland to better his media career. He sat at his desk and just shaking his head.
Different times, Mike.
That's right. So we've got Paul Ford joining us here on the Agenda Podcast Versus Special. We've got Dylan Cleaver, as we will for all of the episodes. And today we're going to go deep into India versus Pakistan. And if the story of Canterbury and Auckland rugby's rivalry is friction on a provincial scale, India-Pakistan stands for friction with global implications. When India meet Pakistan in cricket, it's more than a match. It's a happening defined by shared history, by partition, by religion, border disputes, famine, assassination, tragedy, geopolitics, terrorism, nuclear threats, and of course a fever for the game of cricket. It is unparalleled anywhere else in the world. The story of cricket between Pakistan and India is the story of these two mighty nations writ large. From hopelessly deadlocked test series to accusations of fixing to World Cup walkouts, the rivalry has it all, and sometimes even a bit more. In the next kind of hour or so, we're going to go through this rivalry, India-Pakistan, from its history in terms of the geopolitical history. We'll look at some of the great games. Well, first of all, backtrack a little bit. Why is cricket so big in these countries? Then into some of their best games. Then we'll look at some of the more controversial aspects of India-Pakistan cricket. Maybe look at some more of the controversial characters within India and Pakistan. And then we'll look at the current state of it and what's happening at the moment. But Dylan Cleaver, give us a little bit, for those of people who don't know, who might have been living under a rock a little bit, give us a little bit of background around India and Pakistan.
Yeah, well, I think that people would find it quite interesting to know that my father is older than the country of Pakistan itself.
Right, so fairly young.
Yeah, fairly young. Pakistan didn't come into existence really till midnight on August 14 or 15, depending whether you think midnight's the end of the day or the start of the day, 1947. It was the result of partition, but it's deeper than that. The British Raj dominated the subcontinent. It was the subcontinent until 1947.
When you say British Raj, is that like a king of that area, or what's that?
The British Raj literally stands for British rule.
Oh, okay.
And Britain effectively owned the subcontinent. Although if you look at a map, a modern map now, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Burma, or Myanmar, as it's called now, that was all the British Raj. And it was the jewel in the crown of the British Empire because it gave Britain through the East India Company.
Yeah.
Just extraordinary access to vast natural resources, a renewable supply of dirt cheap labour.
Yeah.
It gave it control over global trade and the trade routes. And the East India Company was so big that it didn't just have one private army, it had 3 private armies. So it was massive. But the Indians weren't supine. Like they weren't happy about it.
Yeah, right.
Like they wanted independence, but because the country was so vast and there were so many different strands to it and so many different religions, it was very difficult to get mobilised, their opposition to British rule. And that really didn't happen until famously Mohandas Gandhi, who became Mahatma Gandhi, who came back to India. I mean, he studied in England, he practiced law in South Africa and Cape Town, came back to India, and he mobilised the country with the non-violent, resistance to English rule, and that was really effective. But it didn't really crystallise into anything concrete until the Second World War. Second World War, British resources were to the marrow.
Yes.
They desperately needed Indian soldiers. India went, yeah, okay, we'll give you our amazing warriors, our fighters, but in return, we want independence. England fudged, Britain fudged on it, as they famously do.
Yep.
They said, we'll give you Dominion status. But once the war finished, they were so depleted, they had no strength left to continue the British Raj. So they were prepared to hand over India to the Indians, but there was a wrinkle. A lot of India was Muslim, and the Muslim League had started in Dhaka, which was East Pakistan, it's now Bangladesh, and they said, well, hang on, if we're getting independence, us Muslims need an independent state ourselves. Indian nationalists were massively against this. Gandhi was massively against this, but the Viceroy of the British Raj, who was Lord Mountbatten, who made a sticky end in The Crown. If anyone's watched The Crown,
he got blown up by the IRA.
He did get blown up by the IRA. He thought that the path to least resistance was to give the Muslims their own country.
Yes.
So with a few crudely drawn lines on the map, there was a little bit more to it, but some people argue not. The country of Pakistan, with the province of East Pakistan, which is modern-day Bangladesh, was created. So in the stroke of a pen, you had millions upon millions upon millions of religious refugees effectively trapped on either side of the border, which created this huge, immigration, whatever you want to call it, between the two. And they were just targets for horrific violence. Like the estimates of deaths wildly vary, but pretty certain that the deaths from that were in 7 figures. So the rivalry was born on the day the country was created.
Two questions. Was the Muslim League a cricket league, or was it a different kind of a league?
It was very much a different kind of a league there, Paul.
Cool. And I, as part of this, I was curious about Gandhi and cricket, and was he any good at cricket? And I can tell you that he was poor at cricket. He was really, really bad at PE. He didn't like PE, Gandhi, so not into cricket at all. His big thing was he was pretty busy, I guess, leading the struggle for independence, reducing oppression, and eradicating untouchability, those sorts of things. So he didn't get too fixed on cricket, but he did try and get poor cricketers, the ones that were really good at cricket, who should have been the captain, but they were from the shitty castes.
Yeah.
He really lobbied to make sure that they got recognised and were able to be captains and so on. So there you go.
You would have thought he would at least picked up some skills on the hard and bouncy wickets of Cape Town, but no.
No, it didn't.
Quite frail, isn't he?
Yeah, he seems like more of a badminton guy.
Poor eyesight as well.
Poor eyesight, yeah. He'd have to rely heavily on timing, I think, Gandhi, if he was going to pick up the cricket bat. And if he was going to bowl, probably would bowl kind of loopy leg spinners, I would imagine, that would get dispatched.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that's the start of the two countries. Pakistan, barely 78 years old, which is, in the big scheme of things, it's pretty young. Obviously, before that, under the British Raj, a lot of cricket was played.
A lot of cricket was played. I can help you on this one as well. It was first played in India, they believe, in Cambay, which is very near modern-day Ahmedabad, in 1721.
Jesus.
And to put it bluntly, it was used as a pretty crude instrument by the East India Company to win over locals who were otherwise wary of this foreign race coming in and basically taking all their spices, all their raw materials, employing people for nothing, bringing disease, bringing cats and dogs, everything.
So was it like at some sort of like village fair that they'd put on? They go, sorry about all the disease we've bought and everything with time. We're going to put on a cricket match for you guys.
Pretty much it.
Really?
Yeah, pretty much nailed it. Yeah, and it took off. It's difficult to say exactly why the sport resonated so much, but it took off, and it was probably because it was open to all denominations. Like some of their very first cricket tournaments that they had, well, the first one was called the Bombay Quadrangular.
Now, this was like the IPL. This was actually like the IPL, just religious-based.
Yeah, which would now be known as the Mumbai Quadrangular. And it featured a Muslim team,
yes,
a Hindu team,
yeah,
a team of Europeans, and a Parsi team, which is the religion is, I can't even say it, but it begins with Z. It's a really long
Zoroastrians.
name. That's the one, yeah.
Right, so that was the first quadrangular tournament played in Mumbai.
Yeah, and then clubs sprung up, very sort of genteel clubs, mainly amongst the higher castes, it has to be said, in Calcutta, in Lahore, in Madras, and Lahore is still known as Lahore, Calcutta is now Kolkata, and Madras is Chennai. So from very early days, cricket spread almost like a religion, and it was helped also. It was spread by the other great thing that the British gave to India, which was
railways.
The railways.
They love the railways and they love the cricket. So I was going back a step. You're talking about like only the caste system. It took me a while to work out what that system. It's basically a class system.
Yes,
but almost as more delineated than the English caste system, where you got the lords and everything. They're almost more stringent on it in India back then than almost in England now. You know what I mean? Like
I'd say they were more stringent.
Yeah. You can't marry outside your caste. It's pretty much impossible to leave if you're a lower caste, mid caste, upper caste, or whatever. It's almost impossible to go up.
Well, one of the castes was called the Dalits, which translates to the untouchables.
Right.
They were so low that you couldn't touch them. And it was very lineated, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Some caste, the Brahmin caste, for example, painted their houses blue.
Right.
So that's how you knew that you were in a good area.
Right, if your house was blue.
If your house was blue, yeah.
Disappointing.
It's disappointing colour. They could have chosen something else, like maybe just some sort of cadrone or half white or something.
Yeah, or just a red brick. Probably quite convenient.
Or Huntley brick, maybe. Huntley brick would have been good. From these early developments from the quadrangular series, obviously, because you look at India, Pakistan now, and people are playing with rubber balls and bits of wood in the back streets of any alleyway or any park. Is that kind of how you imagine it was then as well? Like every caste is playing it, but really there's only one caste that are playing in the quadrangular tournament. The rest of them are playing in the back streets of Mumbai.
Yeah, there's probably only a couple of castes that are playing in whites on the Maidans.
Yes, okay, yeah.
The rest are, I think you did right. They're taping together bits of wood.
Yeah.
They're rolling up balls of string, anything they can. And it still happens to this day. Anyone who's been fortunate enough to travel around India, incredible country, will know that you can walk down any street and find a pick-up game pretty much.
Yeah, they won't let you play though. It takes a while for you to get involved. You got to show a bit of trust that you're actually going to contribute to the game because they presume,
like fielding.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's like someone turning up on the beach, and they don't field. They just want to bat. It's like, no.
You got
to the outfield, buddy.
Yeah, totally. And you got to earn your stripes a little bit. You can't just turn up. They'll believe that you can't play cricket.
And they will always ask you if you know Chris Cairns. You know Chris Cairns?
I got when I was over there? I got a lot of McCullum and Vittori and Hadley and Crow. A lot of Crow. I didn't get a lot of Cairns. I think that's more you vibe.
It might have been the era.
So obviously, cricket was being played in both Pakistan and India. The divide happens in 1947. The birth of Midnight's Children happens then. What happens after that in terms of cricket and being officially recognised as nations and as cricket playing nations?
Yeah, well, I guess Test cricket was actually relatively new amongst countries outside of Australia and England. They've been playing for ages.
Yeah.
But with the formation of the ICC, which was originally called the Imperial Cricket Conference, which is a very grand name for it.
Yeah.
Quite Star Wars though.
Yeah, wasn't it? Yeah. India was recognised earlier, and then I think it was by 1952 Pakistan was also recognised as a full member. So the first time Pakistan played as a test country, they actually contained a few players that had previously played for India.
Right, I see. So, because only 5 years after partition, they get recognised. And you got some dual... That's quite a unique badge to wear, isn't it?
Yeah.
Players to have both played for both India and Pakistan.
Yeah, only 3 of them.
That'll never happen again. That's one of these things that I guarantee will never, ever happen again.
Yeah, I think you're safe on safe ground there, Mike.
So who was that? I got here, was it Gul Muhammad, Amir Elahi, and Abdul Qadir?
Abdul Qadir.
Is it Qadir?
Yeah, Abdul Qadir was a leg spinner that came along a bit later. Yeah, he was the father of Pakistan cricket.
I've got a couple of things about Abdul Qadir. He was a Hindu fella, and you'd enjoy him, Michael, because he used to walk around with a cane, not because he had a limp. He used it as an intimidation. He just used to have a cane just to scare people. He also didn't really like Bradman. He said that Bradman was very good at batting, but a cold man with little generosity of spirit. So I feel like I've got a bit of a bond with
what a
Carter.
line.
And he famously he famously said that Pakistan needed to play like ferocious wildcats surrounded by hunters. And this is this metaphor for Pakistan cricket that's gone on forever, actually, around the caged tigers. And so he was the godfather of Pakistan cricket and the godfather of their metaphor as well.
Imran Khan famously used it, the caged tigers, during the 1992 World Cup.
When was the first test played between Pakistan and India? When was that?
54-55 season, I think it was. And Pakistan lost the first test in Delhi to India, but it was probably more what happened after the second test, which was to have the most kind of profound effect on the rivalry. And that's Pakistan won it, actually, thanks to a Nazar Muhammad century and 12 Fazl Mahmood wickets. They played on a matting pitch, jute matting pitch.
So what is that? What's a jute matting pitch? What's that?
It's literally what you'd find on quite a few primary school grounds in the New Zealand in the 80s and 90s, and that was just a mat that they stretched really taut over ground.
Yeah.
And the rumours were that the home team would often stretch it really, really tight when they were batting, and then they'd just loosen it a little bit for when they were bowling, so it would get lots of turn. But Pakistan won that, and the crowd at Lucknow really didn't take that very well at all. The Indian players were subjected to death threats and even worse.
Yeah.
And it was pretty...
Worse than death.
It was pretty ugly. India ended up winning that series 2-1, but it kind of informed how the test cricket between the two countries, and remember there was only test cricket back then, there was no one day or T20 were played, and both teams just became so terrified of losing that the rivalry was intensely boring. Or as Peter Oborne, who wrote that quote that you mentioned at the top of the show, as he said in his brilliant history of Pakistan cricket, it was petrifyingly dull, the cricket they played. And I think between that third test of that inaugural series in 54-55 and the second test at Lahore in India's 1978 tour to Pakistan, they played 13 tests and drew them all.
Drew all 13 tests?
Yeah. Can you imagine it? And some of it, and one of the games we'll actually mention a little bit later on.
Yeah.
But some of them were, like, as Oborne wrote, petrifyingly dull. Like, we're talking about less than 2 runs and over.
Jesus.
And this is the thing about these matches, and I guess the relationship between the countries, right, is that it's obviously not just a cricket game. It's this hotbed of patriotism and religious fervour and social pressure and sport. And, they're playing on this dangerous political fault line. And you can't just say, oh, yeah, we'll just get on and play cricket. There's this massive, massive complicated diplomatic underbelly that swirls around these matches, which is, you know, why they play really, really boring games in those early matches.
And not just a political underbelly as well. This really weird religious underbelly where, you know, a victory to one team was seen as an endorsement of their gods over the other. You know, and they fiercely believed that stuff too.
Jesus. So after those 13 draws in a row, did anyone start getting on top of the others, or did they just keep boring the life out of each other?
There was a little flurry of results following that, including a 3-0 Pakistan win.
Ooh.
When India toured for 6 Test series in 82-83.
Up the Muslims.
that was a series where Imran Khan got 40 wickets, and I was just going to say really quickly, he flew into India before the team got there, like quite a few weeks before, and did a series of media interviews where he said, "We're going to come over. You're not going to believe how good we are. We are so good. We're going to degrade you guys." And he did all these private interviews. Then he went back and then cruised over with the team, being real chilled out. But yeah, absolutely.
Went
aggressive.
Went over there and just released a few hand grenades and then went back for the team.
Absolutely, and apparently paid for that with his own money because he was just trying to make a point for Pakistan. So good from Imran Khan.
Not sure hand grenades is the most diplomatic term.
Yeah, probably not the best analogy I could have used. But
he was bowling hand grenades as well. He took 40 wickets at 14 in that series.
Jesus.
And Pakistan were generally better at Test cricket in those days as well. But the problem was you'd have these little series and then you'd have long gaps because stuff would happen that was really bad.
Yeah.
Like there would be border skirmishes, or in 84... Indira Gandhi was assassinated, and although she was assassinated by her Sikh bodyguards rather than any sort of Pakistan influence, as far as I know anyway, it would always, the threat of widespread violence in the communities was so much that you couldn't put another spark in there, so you'd have these long gaps. Test cricket ceased between the countries following Indo-Pakistani wars of 65 and 71. It ceased between the countries between 1989 and 99. Returned for an 8-year period there, but since the Mumbai massacre, there's been no Test cricket and relatively little prospect of it, there has to be said.
Right, okay, so that do you think your gut says probably never going to happen again, a Test match? In India or Pakistan?
Yeah, I think it's going to be extremely difficult. Paul's a lot wiser and savvier than I am in political matters. He might be able to chart a path forward, but I think a World Test Championship final on neutral territory is probably the more likely scenario.
God, ICC would love that.
Yeah, there needs to be some, I guess, a regime change, right? And so, you know, the way that things are shaping up at the moment, there was this period where things were pretty chill between the two nations, but not for that long. And that was when there was this guy called Pervez Musharraf, who was born in India. He was the Pakistan president. And then there was a guy called Manmohan Singh, who was the Indian president born in Pakistan. Now, they were sweet. They used to go to the cricket and get along pretty well. But famously, they were getting on so well. I don't know if they got, obviously they wouldn't be pissed, but one of them got a bit carried away, and the Pakistani president just casually mentioned that they just developed a nuclear bomb. So whilst they were real chilled out at the Test match, straight afterwards, all hell broke loose as everyone's like, Jesus Christ, you should have heard what he told me over a cup of tea at the tea break. Jesus. So yeah, look, things can change, but gee, yeah, I think the safer bet would be this ain't happening for a bloody long time.
And you're talking about because you look at a modern lens on the India-Pakistan, and India through the IPL through it seem a lot stronger at the moment. They've got more resources. It seems like they've got bigger depth. But looking at their head-to-head here in terms of Test matches, they played 59 tests and 38. No results. That is mind-numbingly boring. But obviously, you've explained why that is. But Pakistan have won 12 and India 9.
Yeah.
So they're behind the 8 ball in there. Look at the one-dayers, 136. Pakistan have won 73, India 58. And to look at T20s, which is more of the modern day, India have won 9, Pakistan have won 3. But that was a real surprise to me. And looking at the totals in terms of 208 games played across all formats, Pakistan have won 88 and India 76.
There's a theory behind this, and that's the two countries developed their own unique kind of like skill sets where they were particularly strong, and Pakistan developed incredible fast bowlers.
Yeah.
Like Imran Khan, Sarfraz Nawaz, Waqar, Wasim, Shoaib Akhtar. So when the game goes longer, generally speaking, it's the ones with the stronger bowling attacks that are more likely to press for a result. So Pakistan had the incredible fast bowlers and decent spinners. India had the kind of wily spinners, and which Pakistan can play really well themselves, and they had the batters.
Yeah.
So India were perfectly equipped for draws. Pakistan were slightly better equipped for winning long games of cricket.
Yeah,
you could also argue that D doesn't stand for draw in that table. It actually stands for diplomacy, and so diplomacy is really the dominant force. I mean, I think the other thing about this is that it shouldn't be that much of a surprise because they were the same country. Yeah. Literally, it's this arbitrary line. It's a religious divide. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't really look across and go, shit, the Protestants are really good at cricket. Oh yeah, that Catholic guy is really good at cricket.
Really
there's just people that are good at cricket, and the religion doesn't really come into it. But that's why there was a divide.
But it's so strange. But it's also so strange that they had different skills, because by far and away the country that's produced, probably next to the West Indies, dangerous, lethal fast bowlers.
Well, I've heard Imran Khan posit a theory on this, and it's the Pathan people, the Punjabi people from that particular geographic area, which is what Pakistan is now, tend to be taller and
Shaheen Afridi
and more thick set. I remember Imran Khan once talking about a young bowler that they'd plucked out of nowhere to play for Pakistan, as they tended to do quite a lot of times. I think it might have been Rahman, actually, and he said he was basically picked on his ass. Like, he climbed out of a swimming pool, and someone went, look at that's fast bowlers' buttocks. If ever I've seen them.
I love how that's just through the time. It's just they've got great ass, they can bowl fast. Hey, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, Paul Ford and Dylan Cleaver, to talk about some of the classic matchups between India and Pakistan and why they were classics. Looking at the first classic match, 1955. This is the first of 5 tests. Is this the first proper test series I've had as both test playing nations?
No, second one, I think.
Second?
First one was 54, 55. This was a tour to Pakistan, and it was the first of a 5 test series. And it was played in Dhaka, which was East Pakistan, now Bangladesh. Just to keep reminding you of that. And it's actually a very, very long way from being a classic match in terms of its action.
Significant, is it?
It's a significant one for really what happened off the field, and a kind of you microscope down on the rivalry, and it's all encapsulated in this test. It was a 4-day test. Pakistan scored 257 batting first, and it took them a day and a half to get there.
Jesus.
137
Was
overs.
anyone watching?
Imagine watching that.
Was anyone watching?
Oh, it would have been full.
Oh, really?
I can tell you how many people were there.
Okay.
50,000 people were at that game.
Jesus.
In fact, they ran out of chairs and had to go and get chairs from the local gyms and schools to sit around and watch the game.
And they watched them go at like just under 2 and over.
But don't worry, India reply, they collapsed to be all out for 148 and 83 overs. Pakistan then had the option to press for quick runs themselves to try and force a result, but they themselves collapsed from 115 to 1 to 158 all out in 87 overs. Wow. And faced with a target, this is a bit that particularly cracks me up, faced with a target of 267 and pretty much a full day to achieve it, India raced to 147 for 2 in 82 overs.
And what, ended as a draw?
It ended in a draw. Some 710 runs were scored for the entire test and 388 overs at 1.83 runs per over. And just for context, just before we recorded this podcast, India were involved in a test that went halfway through the 5th day and more than 1,600 runs were scored in that test. So,
also, don't forget the environment in which this happened. Basically, effectively during a Cold War period between the two nations, if India went over there and got the job done.
So
I mean, maybe they just wanted to make sure they got home. Interestingly, the local crowd there did give India a massive, very positive, ovation at the end of the game. Vinu Mankad had to sign heaps of autographs, heroes welcome, all that kind of stuff. I guess, if India had maybe got home, that might not have been quite so welcoming.
So there was still a scuffle afterwards.
There was. It was what happened afterwards that really kind of defined this rivalry, and it was at an official reception. Pakistan captain, as we mentioned, Abdul Qadir, the father of Pakistan cricket, godfather of Pakistan cricket, who was a famously prickly individual, gave a speech, and in the speech he used it to compare the two teams' respective recent tours to England, and he made note that Pakistan had played the England fast bowlers, particularly Fred Truman, much better than the Indians, but it was the way he spat out the word Indians several times that was deemed contemptuous.
Right.
And after this speech, which was called unacceptable by all the papers that covered it, much different times, different sensibilities, he was seen having, in the corner of a banquet hall, locked in a verbal spat with his counterpart Vinu Mankad, and evidently they had to be separated before it turned into a scuffle.
Yes.
So there we go. That was the start of the bitterness between the two teams.
Do you think he mentioned something about the Mankad to Vinu Mankad?
I don't think it had happened just then.
Oh, hadn't it?
No.
Well, that tells us the kind of guy Vinu Mankad was. He loved mancadding. Do you still call it a mankad? Are you allowed to do that? Is that still...
No, I don't think so, but it's okay.
Okay.
There's been pressing, actually in India, there has been some official delegations that have pressed the ICC to make that term be deemed as racist and unacceptable.
Even
that must be a long walk for the BCCI to walk down to the end of the corridor to where, and then back again to the ICC and knock on the other door and talk to themselves about changing the rules. Yeah.
Fancy if you know that, like being a great cricketer, being one of the, I guess, the leading lights for India and their development.
Yeah, and
being known for one thing.
And you bang one goat.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next game. In 1986, it was the Australasian Asia Cup, so Australasian Cup.
I think Austral was the company sponsoring it, wasn't it?
Australasia Cup.
Yeah.
So very close to Australasia. It was a final, 1986 in Sharjah.
Yeah.
Sharjah is an interesting scenario, isn't it? Because it's part of the United Arab Emirates.
Is it the poor cousin of the
Yes,
Arab
very
Emirates?
much the poor cousin, because I always, growing up, would see games from Sharjah, and in my mind, it was just somewhere in India. And I had no idea in terms of geography. But then obviously later found out it was a UAE, and it's one of the southern Emirates from Dubai. And yes, very much the poor cousin to Dubai and Abu Dhabi, i.e. it's got no oil, has to rely heavily on the likes of Dubai and Abu Dhabi. It's a dry emirate as well, why most cricket teams didn't really want to go there, or they'd stay in Dubai or Abu Dhabi and travel down there. But it hosted a lot of cricket games.
Because it was almost like a satellite for the very cheap
Labour.
Pakistani and Indian, Bangladeshi labour.
Yeah, indeed.
That were used to work on
building the empire. Yeah.
Building the empire.
Yeah.
Also close enough, obviously, to India to attract Bollywood stars, bookmakers, and the bigwigs from the PCB and the BCCI. So pretty handy. Really, the first professionalisation of cricket, actually, real commercialisation of cricket, happened in Sharjah before anywhere else.
Also, you had to drive through Sharjah to get to Barracudas, which was an illegal bottle store. Speaking from experience, you had to go through Sharjah to Barracudas, fill up your car, and then run the gauntlet back through Sharjah, back into Dubai, without getting rammed by bandits who would run into you with your car. Their car would run into you, and then they'd go, "Oh, we're going to have to call the police," and then they'd expect to be paid off because they know you've got a boot full of illegal booze.
Paid off in booze or
no,
cold hard cash?
Cold hard cash. They weren't interested in the booze. They wanted money. So that resulted in us having to travel in convoy, and it was almost like the presidential convoy. One of the cars had all the piss in it. And the bandits didn't know which one to crash into, and if they did crash into it, we would just unload it to the next car and leave the car there.
Madness.
That was madness. But this was a famous game because the great Javed Miandad came onto the scene and hit a 6 off the last ball of the match to win it.
I have planned something which is pay off, and usually I was looking, I got the ball better than that, and it was full toss, and it just came in my radar. And but that time I have only one thing in my mind, to just go for that and win the game.
The last ball coming up, 4 runs required.
And it's a 6, and Pakistan have won. Unbelievable victory by Pakistan, and Javed Miandad, the hero of the moment. This is unbelievable. Just look at the crowd there. Miandad the great, they chant. Miandad the great.
Cracking game.
Yep, the maestro. Oh, sensational. Yeah, had a 6 off the last ball. Absolutely unbelievable. Like his celebration, he does the bat twirl and then runs off with his arms up. It's absolutely iconic celebration. And Pakistani cricket fans still troll Indians by doing that celebration to them at cricket games now.
Oh, is that what it is?
It's a legacy thing. And the bowler actually was a guy called Chetan Sharma. And, you know, he was a selector. You were saying before about, you know, your legacy, the GOAT thing. National hero, you know, did all these things, chairman of selectors, blah, 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 blah. And lots of people remember him for being the bowler they got hit for that 6.
Yeah.
This is a guy that got a hat-trick in the 1987 World Cup. He got a hat-trick against New Zealand, Rutherford, Smith and Chatfield.
Oh, that's not a hat-trick.
An interesting hat-trick. But yeah, he got hit for 6. And Javed Miandad, the maestro, mum and dad, he was the inspiration for guys like Wasim, Inzamam ul-Haq and Waqar Younis.
See, the thing is with Javed Miandad is, I was saying to Dylan earlier, growing up for me, he was just always a grumpy old man with a big womb broom moustache arguing with umpires. That's what he was to me. I didn't really see him bat that much. He was an annoying batsman who would stick around.
Always got runs against New Zealand.
Always. But then I was seeing him in this match and seeing him club that one for 6. He looked like a different player, and he was quite eloquent afterwards in the way he was talking. It changed my opinion of Javed Miandad.
Yeah, that was an amazing match. It was about 250 all until Javed hit the winning 6, which was really high scoring in those days.
Yeah.
But Sunil Gavaskar, who most of us know now as a commentator, pretty boring commentator, was the Indian kingpin back there, and he scored 92 off about 130 odd balls. And the funny thing about, as Paul mentioned, the poor guy that got hit for 6 off the last ball, he was just kind of the kid in that team as well. Like they had guys like Maninder Singh and Kapil Dev, but Kapil just chucked him the ball for the last over.
Of course he did.
Said, there you go, champ.
Of course he did. He bowled like a knee-high full toss as well, which got murdered over mid-wicket by Javed Miandad. Next game we're looking at is 1999 in Chennai in Mumbai.
January 28. The interminable wait is over. As the gates open, the full extent of official paranoia becomes clear. Everything from Indian flags to black clothing, the traditional colour of protest, is confiscated. Protesters are still afoot, with one man trying to set fire to himself, and security is top of match referee Cammy Smith's agenda. If the atmosphere turns sour, he will have to decide whether the game can go on.
This was played during the Kargil War.
Yeah, so just a few weeks before a real flashpoint, the Kargil War. So this is extraordinary because there's a great documentary, first of all. It's called Bat and Ball, I think it's called, literally called that. So check that out. Bat and Ball War, sorry, it's called. Well worth a look on YouTube. But just picture the environment. So Pakistan are going into India. The teams get on brilliantly, but the pitch has been dug up at Delhi, which I think we're going to talk about in a bit. Vandals had broken into the BCCI office and smashed up the 1983 trophy. People were setting themselves on fire in the streets.
What?
Indian protest groups said, if you guys go ahead with this test, we're going to get 50 people. We're going to stand on Parliament's lawn and we're all going to set ourselves on fire. And this is the environment into which this match goes and gets played. But in terms of what happened in the cricket, Sachin Tendulkar scored 136, chasing 271, and they needed 17 to win, and he got out. They collapsed and they lost they lost 4 for 4. at the end of that match. Absolutely magnificent win for Pakistan.
And a little bit of a Kiwi influence in that test as well. Umpire Steve Dunn with one of the most atrocious decisions against Pakistan. Was it a bump ball?
Yeah, I think it was against India. The guy smashed it into maybe Azam Mahmood, who was fielding in close, and it clearly hit his leg, bounced down into the ground, and then was then caught by the keeper.
Yes, that's right, yes.
And
Gooley, I think it was.
Yeah, and Steve Dunn, on your way.
On your way, buddy.
On your way, champ.
Oh, go Kiwi.
Apparently,
give him a taste.
The guy who was fielding was watching it on replay later that night and just cracking up laughing. How did they get that?
Another game that was famous because the crowd clapped the Pakistanis because they recognised, and the Chennai crowd pretty schooled up and recognised that, this was an incredible win in a very, very difficult environment.
And Karachi 2006, the third test there. Why's that one stuck out as a highlight?
Has gone for a catch, and it's win for Pakistan. It's all over. Abdul Razak finishes off for Pakistan. Happy moments, historic pictures here. Pakistan have won against India after 1986, so win well deserved. And it's their biggest ever victory as well against all teams. So they win by 341 runs. So start of a new chapter as far as Pakistan team is concerned.
That's the last test played between the two countries, and it was just a who's who of
19 years ago.
Yeah. India had VVS, Lakshman, Sehwag, Dravid, Tendulkar, Ganguly, Yuvraj Singh, MS Dhoni was just coming on the scene. Pakistan had the infamous Salman Butt, Imran Farhat, Yusuf Yuhana, who would become Muhammad Yunus, Shahid Afridi, just insane batting lineups. And I remember this because it started off as Pakistan being 3 wickets for no runs, with Irfan Pathan taking a hat-trick in the first over of that test. And then they recovered to win by 341 runs. And one of the funny things about that was you look at all those legends of the game who played that test, and the critical innings was played by a guy called Faisal Iqbal, who I had to remind myself of when I was doing research for this. He scored 139 in Pakistan's mammoth second dig of 599 for 7 declared. And this, the two countries talk about the series as being something pretty special. Shoaib Akhtar was on the scene and bowling lightning quick. I think he might have yorked VVS and Tendulkar in the space of a couple of balls. It was, it's pretty, it's amazing and I guess sad to think that
was the last test.
That was it.
19 years ago.
That was the emergence of Muhammad Asif too, I think, who was described by someone as the love child of Glenn McGrath and Wasim Akram, which is a horrific picture, but he took 7 wickets in that match to burst onto the scene.
And next one is the match that changed cricket forever.
Can he keep that cool going? Loads of things will be going through his mind. Should I go for another one? Should I look for another boundary? If I take a single, it'll be Mohammad Asif on strike. In the air, Srishan takes it! India win! Unbelievable scenes here at the bull ring. Jeff Lawson can't believe it. The Pakistan players stunned. And India would believe they've got out of a corner. Misbah ul Haq doesn't want to leave the field. But what a match for a 2020 final. India, the world champions.
Yeah, that's how it's been described. There's lots of good features and YouTube watches on this one. It was the 2007 T20 World Cup final, but you've got to remember that up until then, India had been really sniffy about T20.
Right.
It's hard to picture it now, but they, with guys like Tendulkar and Dravid and Lakshman, they thought that T20 and all its slogging was slightly unseemly and a little bit beneath them. until they go ahead and win the T20 World Cup final, and better still win it against their oldest and hated rivals, and the dollar signs immediately went up, and that's when you had the ICL versus the IPL.
The infamous ICL.
Of which there was only ever going to be one winner.
Yeah,
it's where T20 really went from being a gimmick to a global behemoth, and it's kind of no massive coincidence that it kind of replaced the India-Pakistan commercial whole because they weren't going to be able to play matches themselves. So India got excited, found a gap, and away they went. This is at the Wanderers, wasn't it, in Johannesburg? I think this match, and it was really the new world order of cricket was born on this day. Absolute dream final, maximum tension, viewership, chaos, and then massive commercial outcome as well.
And then finally in the kind of top 6 games, the Oval in 2017, the Champions Trophy final.
India now 9 for 156.
That's gone up India. Sarfraz takes the catch, it's all over. Pakistan win. 158 India blown away in the final, and it's Pakistan who are through. Over the line, massive win, great scenes. And after a very long break, they were able to beat India in an all-important contest. They richly deserved this. They were the better side on the day, brilliant with the bat and exquisite with the ball. And Sarfraz, what a leader they found in it.
Yeah, look, I don't remember a lot about this game, but I think it's important. We've noted the rivalry and how Pakistan have generally had the better of the rivalry. But, but I guess what we failed to cover in that little segment was the fact that when it came to World Cups and ICC events, India totally dominant, like to a ridiculous extent. Maybe even 15-1 or 6.
I think in ODIs it's 8-0 to India.
There you go.
And T20s it's 7-1 to India.
Yeah, so you get to a Champions Trophy, which is the poor cousin of the ICC events. Held in England, and hopefully Paul's got details of the match, but obviously a big moment for Pakistan to get one over India in an ICC event.
Well, and this is the thing. Pakistan came into this tournament ranked number 8, expected to get absolutely flogged by the Indians, and then in this final, Fakhar Zaman went absolutely batshit crazy, and Pakistan beat India by 180 runs. And I guess the big point around this was that it felt like it was the resurrection of Pakistan cricket. They've been ostracised, not allowed to play in the IPL. All of the commercial gains that come from playing India are off the table. And then on the flip side, a real lesson in humility for the Indians.
Right, okay. Well, we've had a look at some of the positive games or some of the significant games, but there's also a whole litany of controversy from both sides over since the inception of Pakistan in 1947. So we'll take a quick break, and we're going to come back with some of the more darker side of the rivalry and indeed the teams as well. Okay, we're getting near the end of this. We're looking at some of the more darker side of this India-Pakistan rivalry, and we can't go into this without mentioning match fixing, because Pakistan has been riddled with it for the past 20 or 30 years, and a whole handful of some legendary players as well that have been busted. It's fair to say that maybe blighted Pakistan in this rivalry a little bit.
It's been a constant spectre hanging over Pakistan cricket, to the point where you go back in some of those scorecards and you have to suspend belief a little bit. There's one famous match that New Zealanders obviously won't concede this, but Christchurch, third test of a series there, which is now widely believed to have been heavily impacted by betting markets, which New Zealand, who had been cleaned out by Wasim and Wacker up to that point in the series, suddenly chased down a massive fourth innings target with a couple of centuries there.
Down the wicket, thumps it, and that's it. Through to the long off boundary for 4. Tony Blaine, 4 runs. New Zealand have won the test here at Lancaster Park. Shane Thompson, the man of the moment, shakes hands. Marvellous effort, 120 runs. Celebrations in the New Zealand camp. Brian Young, the star of the second innings, along with Shane Thompson. Majid Khan shakes hands. Andrew Jones's last test of victory to New Zealand. Tony Blaine, they're all heroes today.
Match-fixing accusations have been levelled against key players from both India and Pakistan, actually, but just to name a couple, Salim Malik, Salman Butt, Muhammad Azharuddin, Manoj Patbakar, Ajay Jadeja, Muhammad Asif, Muhammad Amir, Sri Srithant. And, yeah, look, as I said, it's a constant kind of thing hanging over, particularly Pakistan cricket, and it's linked to the kind of very lax structures around their domestic cricket. The fact they're paid low wages to play domestic cricket, and also there's a presence of really well-organised gangs, particularly the D Company, run by a guy called Indo-Pakistan businessman called Dawood Ibrahim, who's been on the FBI's most wanted list for years and years. But they kind of had a stranglehold over unregulated betting. So I don't know if we need to go too much deeper into that, but it's certainly a thing.
Yeah, right. But also
the weirdest one of that was when it was Salim Malik versus Muhammad Azharuddin, and they were captains, and then they were both undistinguished, put it that way.
But also a bit of cricket diplomacy as well, along with this, Paul Ford.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just that this is just that point, right? That cricket is often used as a piece of escapism, whether it's from the political tensions or possibly some of the oppressive type regimes that are in charge in some of these countries. You know, cricket is really seen as this potential thing that can just come in and paper over the cracks, and everybody just gets on, and let's not worry too much about the state of the world. I think it's a massive force in India and Pakistan for sure.
Bit like kind of FIFA think they are, really, isn't it? With the Football World Cup, you know, you can have a Football World Cup in a country where, you know, hundreds of people have died building the stadiums, but as soon as it starts, everyone goes, "Oh, this is awesome! This is amazing! Weather's amazing!
Doesn't the stadium look great?
Doesn't the stadium look great? Hotels are great, don't they? Food's good."
And, you know, in both these countries, cricket is so fundamental to national pride and identity that it works.
Yeah, and then there's been a few small incidents involving Indian Pakistan players. One of my favourite Pakistan cricket players, Inzamam al-Haq, famously had an altercation with a fan with a megaphone, which I'm surprised wasn't you.
Yeah, I know. I was probably I did chant Motualu at him just to test his theory. He didn't like it. I did that at the Westpac Stadium. Can confirm, quite a bit touchy about that. But this was 1997. Massive expat communities of Indian and Pakistan fans in Canada,
yes,
and also in the UAE, as we mentioned earlier. And so, yeah, they used to go and play in weird places like that. And this match, a fan did literally just chant, "You're a fat potato," in Urdu at Inzi. He walked up into the stand and belted the spectator over the head with a cricket bat, which was magnificent and caught on video.
The crowd's got pretty involved in this contest. Jeez. Just wonder if they're getting a little too involved. It's one of the players involved there that looks like Inzamam al-Haq has gone into the crowd. Now that's very, very unusual. I just wonder, he's taken the law in his own hands. Hey, that is very, very ugly. I'm afraid it's not looking good at all. I don't think it's just the match referee is going to be having a close look at it. Just someone in charge of the law might too. Now, I saw Inzamam running across there, telling Aqib Javed that he'd much rather field at fine leg rather than Aqib. I didn't realize it was because he actually wanted to go into the stands. This is sensational, and I'm not sure it's the best thing to have happened.
If you haven't seen it, seek it out. But yeah, his name was Shiv Kumar Thind, is the guy that got yelled at Inzi and paid the price.
Yeah, geez. I guarantee the only reason that he didn't go into the stands and hit you, Paul Ford, was because he probably couldn't get up that big concrete wall at Westpac, what was then Westpac Stadium in Wellington.
Hard to isolate me in a group of 40 people in base shirts too.
Yes, this is true. Eden Gardens, Tendulkar run out for 9 after a collision with, is it Akhtar?
Shoaib Akhtar.
Although Shoaib Akhtar's intentions were really to stop that ball from going to the boundary, but it's
very easy run that was. Just came and hit the wicket. That doesn't happen too often, and that tangle there with the fielder, that really was the decider. To really feel sorry for this man. Tendulkar gone for 9. And India now. Well, there you are. The whole scene has changed now. Just what the Indians didn't want. Sachin Tendulkar back in the pavilion. The score is 145 for 3.
Yeah, well, this is just one of those great moments, right, where the crowd just go absolutely apoplectic, and Tendulkar looking like he's being bullied by this big Pakistani thug. Yeah, it's just great. It's just great theatre, and the crowd go absolutely nuts. They have to stop the match for this one.
You got to remember, it's at Eden Gardens in Calcutta, and I don't know if you've been there.
No,
I've been lucky enough to go there, and it's just a bowl full of 100,000 people. Like, it is an enormous cauldron.
Yeah, right. So looking kind of a bit further down, it's India and Pakistan pretty much don't play each other now. There is no bilateral tours. There's nothing going on at the moment. They don't tour each other. The only time they ever play is when there's an ICC tournament. Like, there's no Pakistan players involved in the IPL, and vice versa with the Pakistan Premier League, or whatever they call it, Super League there.
PSL, yep.
Yeah, none of that. So it's basically only time they ever play it is in the ICC tournaments. And what do you know? They're always in the same pool.
Yeah, so
why is that?
Amazing coincidence,
isn't it?
That.
Like, how come every other sport, like World Cup, like football, rugby, and everything, you have these events, these draws where you pull out the balls out of the kind of the bingo machine, yep. And they go
the tombola.
In pool 1, Germany, but they're all seeded, so you don't get Germany, Brazil, Spain, everyone in one pool. But the ICC just released their draw. They go, ta-da! Yeah. Why is that?
Well, India might not care if it never plays Pakistan again because they don't need them.
Yeah, because they got the IPL cash.
The IPL, but the ICC really want it to happen because it's that classic economic calculation, which is great rivalry plus great scarcity equals billions of eyeballs that they can guarantee.
Literally billions of eyeballs.
Their family of sponsors will get in front of. So it's huge. And look, to be fair, it's not sneaky. They make no secret of the fact. In fact, former ICC chairman David Richardson put it like this. He said, what we try to do is make sure that when you add up the rankings of the different groups, they all add up to the same number of points. You can do that in a number of ways. So long as the pools are balanced, it's silly to avoid the fixture when you can fairly cater for it. So what they say is they just will gerrymander the other teams into other pools to get a kind of balanced pool system as long as India and Pakistan are in the same one. And look, I think the majority of revenue comes from India, right? I think it's 80% of the ICC's total revenue is generated from the Indian market, whether that's sponsorship, media rights, broadcasting rights, and the game everyone wants to see. If you're an Indian, Pakistan World Cricket fan, is India, Pakistan. So it kind of makes sense.
And is it true that during that T20 World Cup that was played in Long Island in New York, that there were 2 million ticket applications for a state?
17,000 seats. So quite a few people miss out, I understood.
Jesus Christ. 2 million fans applied for tickets to watch that game. They watched that India-Pakistan game on the world's worst pitch as well.
World's worst pitch.
And 998 million people went to the wrong URL. It's only the 2 million that got to the right place.
That is insane. Right, Dylan Cleaver, it's almost coming to the end of our deep dive into the India-Pakistan series. We've touched on it, and looking at will we ever see a test series again. I think both yourself and Paul Ford have agreed no. There's not going to be a test series again. And the only way cricket fans are going to be able to indulge in this rivalry is when every ICC tournament rolls around every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, look, people ask, and you asked before, and it's a valid question. I mean, why not? Why can't you put things aside to just play cricket? Paul's mentioned diplomacy and how it can be a valuable tool. But if you kind of look at the timeline, you go back to 2002 when New Zealand were touring, a bomb went off outside the team hotel in Karachi. It killed 11. The bomb wasn't targeted for New Zealand. I think we've got to be clear about that. It wasn't
just a coincidence?
But it was targeted at French aid workers, I think, or who were in a minivan outside the hotel. I can't remember the exact details, but what it did was it made a lot of people very, very scared about touring Pakistan. In 2008, you had the terrorism in Mumbai, which effectively cut off India-Pakistan cricket relations. 2009 team started going back to Pakistan, well, Sri Lanka did. And
Very temporarily.
They were replacements for India, who had cancelled after the Mumbai terrorism. Their bus was attacked. Then 2011, you had Osama bin Laden was found and killed in Pakistan, and that confirmed for a lot of people that, it didn't confirm, but it reinforced this idea that Pakistan was a home, a shelter for Muslim radical terrorists. And then just recently this year, you had a terrorism attack in the
Kashmir,
on Hindu tourists. So, look, unfortunately, it's very unlikely that this cricket rivalry will become a bilateral rivalry in a hurry. So the best we can hope for is these games, the ICC events, and they are crackers. I mean, you know, I'm a Black Caps. I love watching the Black Caps play. I love watching cricket. If the Black Caps aren't playing, the game I most want to see is probably India-Pakistan. The rivalry's that intense and just good fun.
Yeah, right. Well, that wraps up our latest Versus series on the agenda, thanks to Bonds Chafe Off. Next episode, we're going to be going, I think we're going to be going stateside.
Stateside, yeah. We're going to go to the northeast corridor of the United States and have a look at one of the great sporting rivalries, definitely the biggest baseball rivalry we got, and it's a rivalry that kind of encompasses the sport of baseball, but also the cultural identities of the cities of Boston and New York, and in particular one beer-drinking character who was a key figure in both teams.
Excellent. Look forward to it, and thanks for joining us here on The Agenda Presents Versus, our special deep dive into the greatest sporting rivalries in the world.
From Smith to Robbie Dean.
The Yankees have swept a 4-game series.
Yes, it's an early try to Walkman. Live from the Export Beer Garden Studios, this is Versus, an Agenda special podcast brought to you by Bonds Chafe Off Undies. Bonds' innovative range of friction-free undies.